Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mindful Elevation, creating a mindful body and mind. Tonight, we're going to have another interesting topic, which is blogging and how you start blogging and all the roles that you have to walk when you want to be a blogger. So we have tonight Miss Kenty Lichtenberg with us. She has been a blogger for several years already. So tonight we're going to be talking with her, and then she can give us her experiences and how it is to combine all the different things that she is doing. So welcome, Miss Kenty. How are you doing?
Thank you. I am excellent. Thank you so much, Ramunda, for having me on your platform. And yeah, for letting me share my journey with mindful elevation. It has a lot to do with your emotions and your spiritual and your mindset as well. The strength of overcoming a lot of challenges. So thank you for having me on board, and thank you for letting me share a little bit of my story as a blogger and as a marketer with you guys.
Thank you, thank you. So let me jump right in, and then you can continue telling us a little bit about yourself and who is Kenty and where Kenty is at right now.
So, wow, well, that's a very broad question, but it has a lot of different answers. Um, I am originally a marketer by profession, is what I've been doing for the past 15 years. Different industries, from the liquor to pharmaceuticals to beauty, cosmetics, makeup, skincare, you name it. Um, that is actually where I kicked off my career, right? With a distribution company, I realized that marketing was one of my passions, and at the time, my employer gave me the opportunity to develop that and also to grow with the company. So that is a little bit on how I got into the marketing field, because my original background is tourism and leisure. So having that background and being in St. Martin, of course, you would think, oh, well, you would be working in a hospitality. But I've never actually worked in the hospitality field, not even one day in my life, with the exception of the internship when I was in Holland for school. So as life would have it, I was placed in the private sector, and like I said before, I developed marketing skills. With that came communication. With that came kind of like a helicopter view of managing our overall business, which when you're young at the time, in with kids, without kids, you actually have the time to grow and to develop your career at a faster pace, right? um, and then within that time, I always wanted to, I've always been something of a out of the box fashion girl. And because I'm a plus size, and I've always been very confident, and I've always been um, very receiving of my body type, very acceptance, I would say body acceptance. I've learned how to appreciate and also work, whether it's style, fashion, or getting what works for me. Um, about 4 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago, I wanted to create a platform where I could share this with women, because I realized that women overall, we always have a stigma about accepting who we are. And we always competing with, not even for each other, we're always competing with each other, right? So I wanted to create a platform where we could actually, instead of competing, we could share our journey. We could talk about our developments. We could advise each other. We could empower each other. And if you had to cry, then so be it. Then, you had a platform where you could also vent. Within that time, I was already a mom of my first son. So I said, man, what can I do? What can I do to create somewhere that women feel safe and also feel vocal and expressive enough to talk about all of these things that we as women go through. And then I decided maybe I should create a blog. I had no idea what a blog was, how to go about it, especially from the Caribbean perspective, where we come from a culture where we do not read much, right? we are not readers, unfortunately. And I actually try to motivate that with my kids, you know, to read that, because it really helps the vocab, their development, their understanding, their comprehension. So I said, but how do I do this in a way that I make it interactive, fun, engaging? You know, it wasn't even so much about the following aspect. It was more about how was I going to be received as a blogger in St. Martin, as a woman plus size blogger in the Caribbean. So those were the first challenges that I set for myself. So in 2016, the blog was born. I had content, I had a domain, I had a website. I happened to go to a blogging session from Blogger of the Soil, Mr. Leslie Samuel. And when I had that conversation with him, I told him, I said, I want to do this big fanfare. I want to do this big, you know, launch of the blog and invite the media. And he was like, why? Just go live. You have everything that you need. Just do it. You know, what are you waiting on? And that's basically how the blogging started in 2016 in February. February 16th of 2016, I went live. The very first time I took a picture with my phone. At the time, I think I was still using, it was Samsung. So I took a phone. My hair was wet. I had to go to an event. I didn't have time to do my hair. And I said, you know what? This is going to be the picture that I'm going to use for my very first blogging post. And that's exactly what I did. I wrote a story around it. And I just tried to remain as real as possible with the blog and myself.
Okay. And what was your first blogging post?
So my first blogging post was exactly the one that I did in February, where I, if you go on the website, you would see a picture with me in what we call back in the day onion rings, because my hair was wet, but I needed to go to this marketing event. So I was like, why, what am I going to do? My hair is not, you know, my baby's still sleeping. I didn't have no time to dry my hair. What can I do? So I just wrapped it up. I took a picture, and that was my very first post. And I talk about hair and the challenges that you would have as a mom trying to get ready and to combine, you know, your career with looking presentable at the time. That was the very first post.
Nice. Yes, because there is a difference between blogging and having like a regular website, right? So what actually is blogging?
So blogging tells a story, which also goes hand in hand with content marketing, right? So as a marketer, I knew how I wanted to communicate, but I was lacking the part of storytelling. And that is what blogging gives you. Blogging gives you the opportunity to create a story where people can relate and you become more relatable, and it kind of like walk you through a journey of what is happening to you. So it's not a news site. It's not a, for me, then my blogging site, the niche was of course women. Then the sub niche would be plus size women. And overall, it would be empowering, educating, and anything that had to do with growth of women, entrepreneurship. I wanted to combine that, all of that. So the difference between a regular website where you do business and a blog is that blogging goes deeper into what it is you're doing. Now, blogging in the Caribbean is a little tricky because you don't have an online payment process, for instance, for this region, where you can sell your blogging services like in the US. For instance, if I have the outfit of the day and I want to sell it, right? It would be impossible for me to put it on sale because I cannot receive payment from anyone because of how the setup is with the banking and the online system. But that is a whole different conversation. But it's a bottleneck that we have received of bloggers overall have experienced in the Caribbean region, especially the Dutch Caribbean, as being able to have a digital product to sell, right?
Correct.
Also, if you digitize a book, if you want to create a book and sell it and put it on Amazon, you cannot get paid. You know, so those are the tricky parts. So our regular website goes directly into the platform of business, and it would prepare you to sell that. And a blog tells a story together with what it is that you're offering, right? A blog is a story from your personal perspective, where a business, you approach it from facts and figures and strategies and what works and what doesn't work, right? And
Okay,
blogging is more like a
correct.
trial and error and the human empathy around it.
Correct. That is true. Is it easy to come up with a topic every time when you want to post a blog? Because you just said that is you create or you write a story about something that you're going through that day or that week, and then you post it. Is it always like that with you, that it's something that is going around you, or maybe that you see something in the news that you find interesting, you write about it?
Well, I had to find out because when I started to blog, remember, I myself didn't know what it was. So I had to do a lot of research to understand. And I had a couple of bloggers that I was following already. And I was seeing how they were developing their content. So I had to understand how I wanted to develop my content was one, what type of content I wanted to develop, the frequency that I was going to put it out there, and the objective of it. So there are four things: what, how often, and the objective. So your niche, right?
Correct.
Once you identify those four elements, then you can say, okay, I am going to focus on these two platforms. So it's a social media is a broad umbrella. You have YouTube, you have LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, you have, you name it, Pinterest. There's a lot of platforms that you can focus on. So I decided for myself, knowing the market, because I already have the marketing background and I knew what works for the island. So I said, I'm going to focus on Facebook for the local and the regional reach, and I'm going to focus on Instagram for the international reach, right? So out of my research, that is what I wanted to do. I didn't focus on YouTube. I didn't focus on anything else, not even the website itself, the blogging. I wanted predominantly to grow the Facebook and the Instagram with solid information and consistent content. So how to do that? The best way to do that was to find out what I wanted to create it, why I wanted to create it, and the best way to communicate it. So I post every day religiously, 6 times a week, maybe 3 times a day. It's a lot of work. You have to find the discipline, the tools, and the content that you could put on the go. For instance, Instagram is a mobile application. They don't promote you working from your desktop. When you go on Instagram on your desktop, you see that you can't even post, right? You can only look at what's happening, but you can't post, you can't really engage because they are focusing for you to create content on the go. So people walk with you on your journey. Facebook is totally different, right? You can do a lot of stuff on Facebook on your desktop and almost less on your mobile application. So creating the content depends on a lot of things. It depends on your personal situation. If you want to use that as creating content, which I think is one of the best methods because it's authentic. And I'm very proud as well to say that the audience that I have on both platforms are organic. I don't pay for it. I've never paid for a sponsored ad. You know, so the people that are following me on those two platforms are really and truly because they appreciate the content that I put out and they want to continue following my journey as I grow. So it's important for you to understand who you're addressing your content to, how many times you want to do it, and the elements that you're going to use. You can use anything to create content, anything. I went this afternoon to Marigot. I had a smoothie and I thought that the juice truck looked so awesome. And today is the first day of summer. And I was like, excellent. This is a great opportunity for me to write something about summer. So I took a picture and that's what I did. I posted on Instagram. But you have to do your research as well. Blogging is a lot of research. It's a lot of trends, right? You want to remain trendy. You don't want to do an overkill, but you want to remain very relevant. Do your homework. It's a constant research of what's happening. I was one of the first person on the islands to develop. Today is like yesterday was National Flip Flop Days, and people are like, how do you even find out these things? You know, and I'm like, yeah, I researched a lot of stuff. You know, things that I didn't know existed. So you have to remain. You have to find out information to help you create that content on a daily basis.
Correct. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. For those one that are just tuning in, we're here talking with Miss Kenty Lichtenberg about
Hi.
her doing her blogging and how she started and how it is. If there's any question that you want to ask, you can put it in the chat and we will ask them for you. And Kenty will give her answers. So I was indeed on your different platform. I does see that indeed you does post every day, and it's like you said, it's just about a little thing. So it doesn't have to be something big, because most of the time we think, oh no, I need to have something spectacular to go and post, and something that is catchy for everybody. But it's not necessarily like you're saying, at least like this, you keep people involved in what you're doing and how you're doing. And then once you put your, let me call it your article for your blog, they automatically will go there to read what it is, because they already engage with you on the social platform. But like how it is actually, because if I look at myself and when you're telling me it's every day you post, I'm like, oh my God, where I'm going to get pictures or where I'm going to get content to post. So, and you have to be creative, but do you really need to be creative to come up with stuff to be posting?
Well, I've always been creative, so I have that to my advantage, right? And I acknowledge that as well. Marketing people are usually creative individuals as well. We have to develop campaigns and come up with strategies and do things out of the box to be able to to keep the consumer engagement to your products.
Yes.
So I have that as an advantage for me. I also know the market very well. So I don't want to say that it's look, when you start building the platforms, yes, it's important for you to be consistent, and I'm not saying you have to post 3-4 times. Sometimes I just post one day, right? But I post something that is going to be impactful. And one thing that you also have to remember is everybody is not going to be a fan of your stadium. You're not catering to everybody.
Correct.
So you don't have to have the entire 5 million people of Facebook. Would be great, but it's not realistic.
Yeah.
You know, the entire 5 million people that are on Facebook, on Instagram, following you, because that's not your niche. Even your hashtags are strategized to blend in with what you are producing in terms of content. Now, hashtags. Now, that's another thing. You need to be able to post between 15 and 20 hashtags. So for you to come up with that on a regular basis, it's a lot of work. So what I do, I look for apps, hashtags generators. They're on the internet. There's a website that I use that tells you what are the hashtags that are trending daily. You can just copy paste and put it on Instagram. So yes, it is a lot of work, but you have to find, because I have done this in my previous work already in the marketing platform, it comes as a second nature for me. Yeah. It might not be the same thing for you, because you come from another industry and you are trying to create content on the go. And for you, it's like, well, how am I going to post 6 different things 6 times a day on 2 different platforms and still keep it relevant? It's not about that. Remember, quantity is not always quality, but what do you want is consistency. So if you say, I'm only going to do 1 post on each platform, and I'm going to post at 7 o'clock on Instagram, and I'm going to post at 9 o'clock at night on Facebook, then that's what you need to do. But you need to do it consistently, right? And also research what are the best times to post online, the premium times. If you look it up, you would realize that in the morning before 9 a.m. you have people's attention because they're not at work as yet, right? They're driving, they're listening on the radio, they're looking through the feed, trying to find out that first thing before they got into their work environment. Then there's a pause, and then you have the lunch break, right? Between 12 and 2, people also go and check their Instagram, they check their Facebook to see what's happening. They check Twitter, they check the internet, they might listen to some radio or a podcast. And then you have another period between 2 and 5 where, okay, people are leaving work, wrapping up, picking up the kids, coming home, getting them ready, or just going into your routine of the evening. So then you post after 8 o'clock, because by then people have already, they had dinner, they're home, they're relaxing, they might be going through their browser or they're going through the TV. So then after 8 o'clock is a good time to post. So those are all things that I learned both in marketing and with blogging, right? So that you could optimize your timing and you can optimize your content, because it doesn't make no sense for you to post clackalos, as the Dutch people say, 20 posts per day, and you're only having one engagement, two
Yeah.
engagement, only two people are saying it. Because what's happening is you're gonna get an overkill, and then people are gonna like, oh, she's always posting, right? But now for me, people know that I post every day. You have seen it. I post every day.
Yes.
And sometimes at night, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't posted anything today. And then I just post something randomly. I could be sitting down just on the couch and I'm like, oh, let me just look for a quote, or let me see what's happening today, what's trending on the news. Because like I said, you cannot cater to everybody. So you need to find out the niche that you want to keep engaged, and you need to focus on that and develop that. That would be my best advice.
Correct. That's good. That's a good advice. So now when we're talking about your niche, how you came up with that? Because you already said your niche is plus size women, women in general, and then there was another one that you mentioned. So how did you decide to go for that niche?
Well, I wanted to, for the Caribbean, first I did a couple of investigations, of course, and research. And the first things were that there were not much plus size women, plus size bloggers. St. Martin didn't have any, period. That was one. And why I focus on plus size is because we've always had a challenge in terms of finding trending clothes, proper clothes that would enhance your body type, you know, and continue to post, because if you look good, you will feel good, right? So I was like, okay, I always order myself. I have certain places that I shop locally, and I also shop online. But I am not, how would I say that? I don't base my fashion, how would you say? I don't base my fashion daring on society's expectancy of what a plus size woman should wear, right? If I feel that I need to wear it and I like it and I love it, I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna wear it and I'm gonna make it work, right? However, that building of confidence took some time, because my mom was also very instrumental in helping me understand my body type from a very young age. And she always tell me, I love you, but you're not a size 5, and you're not going to be a size 5. This is the body that you have, and this is the one that we're going to work, and this is the one that we're going to develop, and this is the one that you're going to love. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So my mom was very key into helping me understand from a very, as early as kindergarten, when I wanted to play ballet and I was too big. You know, the letters wouldn't fit me. They couldn't find none for me because I was bigger than your average 3 and 4 year old girl. So from that moment, my mom had to have that conversation with me, that I could understand your body type is different, but that doesn't mean that you're any less worth, you know? Correct. So that is what helped me finding my niche. I wanted to create a platform where plus size women were able to build up their confidence, that they could look at me and say, but Kenty wear it. I could wear it too. She wear white. I could wear white. She wear bold colors. I could wear bold colors. She wear heels 6 inches. I can do it, you know, or she does this. Why can't I do it? If I'm bigger or smaller, regardless of your size, because self-confidence and self-esteem is not usually always related to size. There's a lot of regular size women as well that have a lot of insecurities. And I have spoken to them. Correct.
That is so true.
That is what helped me decide. That is what helped me. Yeah, it's very true. I have spoken to women half my size, and they're like, I wouldn't dare to even try on something that you have on right now. And I was like, wow, really? And she was like, no, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't, you know? And I was like, but you would look great on it. You probably would look better than me. But it's like, but you have more courage than I do. You're braver than I do. I wouldn't even take that risk. Yeah. So it has nothing to do with size. It's more a self-acceptance from within. And I think regardless of your size, once you have that conversation with yourself, then it's easier for you to move forward. So that is what helped me identify my niche. And then the educational platform came along, because there's a lot of things that women don't know of our size. You know, how do you do the proper right sizing? How do you know the difference between a wide width shoe and a regular shoe? How do you know that you can revamp your closet with whatever you have, but just using a very good seamstress? You know, how do you, I mean, there's so many tricks and tips that I can share on a daily basis with women overall, that was actually how I I constructed my niche, and then I said, okay, this is where I want to put my focus and my energy and my research and everything that I find on.
Yeah, okay, that's good. It's like you said, it's a lot of research, it's a lot of work. It's not just like, let me decide today I'm going to start either with a blog or being more out there on my social media, because it's really a lot of work and research you have to put in it. So then, when we listening to you, and at the beginning you did say you are a mom. So how do you combine that? Because you do still have your regular job, if I am not mistaken. So how do you combine all of that? Regular job, being a mom, and then also being blogging with the research that comes with all of that.
So I also try to keep it very authentic, because being a mom is not going to change. That's a lifetime occurrence. You know, sometimes I have meetings, during some meetings, and you have one, oh, he's sleeping. So guys, you're lucky you're not going to see box. And during meetings, I'll have the little one, which is a 2-year-old one. He will run in, and I would have to tell my guys that, you know, guys,
Yes.
this is it. You guys gonna have to give me a minute, because I need to tend to the baby and calm him down and whatever, and then we can resume our meeting. So that is the part of being authentic. I also have a very supportive partner, which also plays a role into letting me be able to do this here now, right? Because he's busy with a baby. So I can sit down here and have this conversation with you guys and share this journey while he's taking care of Keegan, right? So I have had to develop a couple of structure to be able to combine being a mom, having a regular 9 to 5, and performing there accordingly, and also developing, because aside from blogging, I also do marketing consulting. So I also have a few clients that I cater to them. So I do marketing consulting, I have the blogging, I have my regular 9 to 5, and I'm a mom. You know, with this COVID-19, we all know how our lives changed. We became the teachers, we became the, you know, the homeschoolers, and it was a lot. I mean, I had my moments that I broke down, I cried, you know, and then, you know, my partner will come in, he say, you know what, let me take the kids, you go and do what you have to do, catch yourself, come back, and then we move on the next day or the next moment, right? But you need a support system, though. That is where I was getting at. And so with a support system and with friends that are reliable, if I'm running late and I need to call someone to pick up my kid from school, you know, I have them on the list. I have like 8 people on the list of school that come pick up my kids, because I don't know who is going to be available the time that my boss calls me in, for instance, for a late meeting, and I can't make it to the daycare. And we all know that we have daycare late fees. So I'm trying to build that up every month. So then I call whichever auntie is available and leave her go pick up my children, you know, if the father is not available either. So you need a good support system to be able to combine all of these things together. And you need to have some form of discipline. And don't get me wrong, it comes with a price, because sometimes your relationship suffers from it as well, because I'm a workaholic by default. So that is one of the reasons why I also started to have this relationship talk as well with a psychologist. It was more for me than for you guys. Because you need to start to find a balance as well, where you can wear all of these hats, you know. But because I'm a workaholic and I'm used to working at a very fast pace and multi-dimensional, you can forget that you are in a relationship, or you can put your relationship in a back burner, and that's not ideal. Not a mom, because you'll never forget you're your mom, but your relationship, you know, and that is also part of your growth and your support. So you got to be very careful in finding a balance. But my thing would be, create a support group, and not only that you're receiving, but also create a support group that when you need to be there for those people, that you're also there, you know. A tribe, as I like to call it, is not only taking. I have a tribe of women in my life, but when they call me at whatever hour of the night, there are no questions asked, I just show up. And I expect the same thing from them. So you have to create a very strong support group that can give you the ability to grow, whether it's in your career, whether it's with a business, whether it's with a blogging, whether it's with something new, in order for you to fulfill all of these various hats. You cannot do it alone. Don't even think about it.
Correct. That is so important. The support group, it's so important. So we have been talking about, let me call it the positive things about being a blogger or having the online business. So can you tell us a little bit about the stumbling blocks that you have encountered, especially because we live on a small island?
So when I started the blog in 2016, it was, and I communicated, for instance, to my friends. I'm like, okay, I have a blog, and they were like, okay, you have a blog. Well, what are you going to do with this blog? They couldn't really understand where I was going from, what was my intention, what was my goal, my objective. So I had to educate them into a bigger picture, where I had dissect my picture for myself already in little pieces and know where I wanted to go in the steps. My friends and even people that I did business with, they didn't understand it. So when I was looking for support, for instance, for sponsorships, for me to sell the idea of a blog, and they were like, okay, but you're a blogger who's going to travel and you need a sponsorship, but what are you going to do with this blog? So the question of understanding what a blog was a process of education.
So we're talking with Ms. Kenty Lichtenberg and about her blogging life, how she combined the three different things about being a career woman, a mom, a partner, and also having her blog and her marketing business online. So she has been indicating that she has to be, or she is very creative. And for her, what works is that she keeps on posting every day, at least around 2, 3, how you call it? Post to create her content for people to keep on seeing her and keep on being abreast of what she's doing. She also gives some good advice and tips about what it is you have to keep in mind when you're trying to do the blogging or some type of business online, and that you have to not only keep attention to your blog but also be out there on the social media. And the most important thing is to know your niche, know for who you cater, who you want to cater for, how you want to cater for them, and then what it is you want them to know about you, because you are the one bringing over the information that you want them to learn from you. And it's always good to have some information where they can learn something from you. Like she was giving some example about how you can combine different clothing, how you can with the clothing that you have in your closet, how you can still make it look fresh and new even though you had them for quite some while already, how you can mix and match. You were talking about the combination of being career, female, and the stumbling blocks that you encounter when you started with your blogging, and that people didn't know exactly where you wanted to go, and especially when asking for donation.
Yeah, sponsorship or even collaborations, because one thing about blogging, and this may sound a bit cultural profiling, but we in the Caribbean, we are very scared of rejection, and that is one of the reasons why we do not reach out to people, because we're scared of them telling us no, right? Yeah. So what I did, I've been able to grow the platform of the blog and connect with so many people because I'm not sitting and waiting for somebody to discover me. The world is big. There are millions of bloggers out there, and I need to make sure that I do my due diligence to remain relevant and to be in people's space, to be in people's device, that you're reading me, that you're finding out what is my mission statement, what am I about, what is the blog about. So and why I said that is because that could be a stumbling block, the fact that you're scared to reach out. But I decided to use the opposite of it. I decided I would send out emails, random. I would just go online and I would search, for instance, okay, plus size magazine. And I would see 5 or the top 5 that are rated, and I would send them emails just to the editor. And I would say, okay, I'll attach my bio, I'll attach the website, I'll attach my social media handles, and I'll just introduce myself, just like how you're selling yourself for an interview or for, you know, a job or a sales pitch, and I'll tell them who I am, what is my mission statement, and that I would like to have a collaboration or be featured in your magazine. Yes, sometimes they will tell you no, or sometimes you won't even get an answer, but sometimes they can tell you yes.
Exactly.
And when they tell you yes, then you move on to the next forward. You know, you send them your pictures, you send them your story. They're excited to have someone from the Caribbean, which is not very common. Black plus size blogger out of the Caribbean is not very common. There's a lot of Caribbean bloggers, but they're based in the US or they're based in Europe. They're not necessarily based in the Caribbean like I am.
Correct.
So that already sets me apart. So that could have been a stumbling block that I did not leave it become a challenge. The first one would have been education of letting people know what is actually a blog and why I wanted to do a blog and what was the benefit of having a blog and even collaborating with me. You know, it expands your network and it leaves you reach out to people. Another stumbling block that I had was the online payment process. That is still happening. You know, I cannot monetize the blog because of the regulations of the banking and the systematic process. That is still a stumbling block that I'm hoping is going to get solved soon. I know there are a lot of people putting some work behind it so that we, as not only bloggers, but even you later on, if you want to put a digital course online, like most life coaches, you know, and an institution, that you can actually put it online and get paid.
Exactly.
You know, and you can get paid locally, and you don't have to tell the people, you know, I don't have PayPal, I can't receive any funding, I have my bank account, you know, because that deters people from doing business with you, not because it sends a red flag, but it's not convenient. I have to go to my bank, I have to log into bank internet, I have to get all of this information from you, your address, your, you know, your zip code, all of that stuff. So that deters you from making business with you, and you're literally not making money while you sleep.
Correct.
Which is where we all want to get. So that's another stumbling block that is still happening. So I mean, that was another stumbling block, so the online payment system. And a fourth one that I would say is actually collaborating with your own Caribbean people. Believe it or not, I have created bigger connections outside of the Caribbean than when I reach out to a institution, or I reach out to a magazine that is in the Caribbean based, or I reach out to a company in the Caribbean, always thinking, well, this is going to be an easier one because we're in the same territory, we speak the same language, or we have cultural similarities. No.
Exactly.
It's actually
and Amira confirming that too.
Yes. I can definitely relate to that. It's always harder to work with your people within your cultural, what you would say, safety net, than for me then reaching out to global, you know, global networks and people that you've never even seen in your life before, but they're more receptive of the information that you want to share with them.
Correct. That is so true. And I don't, in a way, I kind of like don't understand how it is like that, because it's like you said, we all from the Caribbean, we're supposed to uplift each other, work together before we even go out there. But I guess it's something that is in the process. It takes a little bit longer than other things for us to realize. And especially like you said in the beginning, females, we need to work together. We need to uplift each other, because if, for example, you're successful in your blogging, that means as females we're successful because we have different niches, we have different areas that we're good in, and we're showing it to the world. So you said at one point that you need to find something that makes you unique. Like in your case, it's like you said, abroad you have a lot of bloggers that blog about plus size women. So what it is that makes you unique, that out there people recognize you, that follows you?
I think luckily for me, being from the Caribbean, and especially Dutch Caribbean, where we come a background that most of us speak at least a minimum of 2 languages, right? In my case, I speak 4. So that makes you multicultural by default, and it also gives you the power of communicating with different people, different countries at different levels. Would be one. And secondly, authentic. I try to remain authentic to myself and to the brand while building the brand. I want you to know my real journey. You will not always see a picture of me, you know, being glamorous, because that's not my life 24/7. I'm a mom, I get dirty, I have milk, I have some time ago I found cereal in my ears. I mean, that is the reality. I think during the lockdown too, I had a picture that was a lot of people give me compliments on it, and it was a picture that I actually looked my worst, but I was the realist because I was working. I had my baby in my hands. I was falling asleep, and you could have seen me that I was taking notes or following a Zoom meeting or whatever have you. But that was my reality. So I think remaining authentic and being able to tell my story in my own way and communicating with multiple people at the same time is what has made me unique. Yes, the followers are great, and when you see them growing, awesome, you have a great sense of pride. But the fact that you're able to do all of these things on your own while all of this stuff is happening around you, post COVID, during COVID, I created more content during the lockdown than I have created in a very long time, because I was like, I'm gonna have all of this time. Corona has given us the time, the gift of time, and I'm going to use it to my advantage, so
Correct.
I catch up on courses, I spend time with my kids, I watch more movies with them, I wrote more, I did more research, I did photo shoots in my bedroom, in my yard, I had my son as a creative director, so I remain authentic and true to what was happening even during the lockdown and post COVID-19, right? So it's not all glam and makeup. You are actually a person, and you need to be able to relate that to your audience. It's great. You have people out there that have, millions of followers. But I don't compare myself to them, and I don't compete with them either, because that's not my message, you know? And I also cannot afford to be on a plane taking pictures. I'm not that type of influencer yet. but that is the reality. They have a much bigger platform. And remember, blogging in the US, your reach is bigger. There are much more people, than what it is when you're blogging in St. Martin or when you're blogging in the Caribbean and you're trying to get it out there by building a brand from scratch.
Correct. That is so true. That is so true. It's easier when you're living abroad because you have way more possibilities. And it's like you said, in the Caribbean, we really need to focus on, okay, this is the message that we want to bring across, and not being focused on the amount or the number of followers that we're getting. So that is really important, because
It's
otherwise,
very important, and it's also and be not only the followers, but it's also important to remember that while you are creating your content, people need to relate to you, and like Amira say, yeah, quality over quantity. So you want to put things out there inspirational, but you also want to be true. When I have a bad day, you will also see that I have a bad day. I would vent just like any human being, that I had a bad day, or I'm having a drink because I had a bad day. It's human nature. So I think the more relatable you become, the more accessible you are to people, and the more unique you become.
yeah, correct. So now we have been talking about the blogging and what all it entails, your stumbling blocks, your positive things about the blogging. But you just do, besides the marketing, you just do more than only the blogging as well, right?
Yeah, so besides the blogging, I have a marketing consulting agency that I started after Irma, because after Irma was one of those that was unemployed. So I decided, well, I'm gonna have to do something to create some income. So in January 2018, Be Your Own Brand was born. So it's just like bring your own drink or bring your own booze, but bring your own brand. And I wanted to create some a company that would be able to understand your brand from the inception and help you build it and grow it. So aside from that, I'm also a speaker, motivational speaker. The last conference that I attended was just before the COVID lockdown, March in Curacao. It was a convention, inspiring ladies of the Caribbean convention. I was one of the speakers as well there. Um, I also do volunteering programs. I reach out to the youth. The youth has always been have had a very special place in my heart, because my very first job when I came home in 2006 was with an NGO that was busy with a second chance education program, and that opened up my eyes to what was actually happening right there in our backyard with our youth. A lot of kids were suffering, a lot of kids were being abused, and that opened up a level of support that I'm always willing to support the youth community. So I try to mentor, speak, whatever I can do to let them know that there's a possibility of them becoming more than what society define you to be. You can beat the odds. So I do so many things. I do event planning, I do event blogging coverage. I had a radio blog for a time as well, together radio lecture on 96.3. And I stopped that because I got pregnant, but I still get invited to the radio regularly, just because we have a good chemistry on air. And usually people also like to hear what I'm doing, and I'm very grounded in terms of what is happening locally, what is happening regionally, what is happening internationally, how are we being affected as women. Always women, because I think women are the pillars of our society, and I don't think we are the pillars of our society. So with that said, anything that I can do to nurture our women and our society is always a priority for me. Correct. So I do many things, and sometimes I forget everything that I do or what I've done because I'm busy with so many things at the same time. And that is also has to do with taking care of yourself, because in that process you also forget to drink water, something very basic. I get to a point that you have to put an alarm to remind you, like, okay, get up and take a walk or stretch your legs, because I would sit on here and walk 12 hours straight.
Yeah, correct.
Without anybody telling me anything. So it's important for you to remember that self-care is also very important. And while you're busy trying to conquer the world, which is nothing wrong with that, you have to remember that you can't take from an empty barrel. And you have to put some type of energy back into all of this stuff that you're doing. Yeah. You want to be able to produce quality, but in order for you to produce, you also have to have something to produce. Correct. So it's important for us as women, as mothers, as entrepreneurs, as career women, to remember that we also have to take care of yourself, your health. I recently did a physical, which is my annual physical, just to just to go over things, to make sure that everything is okay. I was suffering a lot with insomnia during the lockdown. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't shut down my mind. So then I got something to help me kind of like, block everything else and then leave me go sleep. So, these are all things that you have to take into consideration. I am one that I would get up in the middle of the night and remember that I didn't send an email. So that already tells you that you're not disconnected. Because if you get up to go to the toilet at 3 a.m., but you remember, oh crap, I didn't send out an email, then clearly you wasn't sleeping profoundly, Exactly. We have to learn to look at those signs as well. Look at those signs as something that can become a problem later on, for your own personal, for your own mental health, which is something that should definitely be promoted after COVID, because I think the next COVID is going to be mental health. Yes. There's definitely a lot of people that are going to be needing mental health support to be able to go through this. When I started to work, I was having a lot of anxiety attacks, and it was just scary to go back to a world that you've always been in this world. I mean, I've been here for 39 years, you know? So to have a lockdown and then to go back, I process it different. Now it's going a little better. You're getting back in some form of routine. You're still not 100, at least for myself, 100% um,
Yeah.
accepting that the world has changed. The world has changed. You
Correct.
know, if you came out of COVID being the same person, then clearly something went wrong.
Exactly.
Because you could not come out of COVID being the same person. There's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way. So yeah, no, it's important for you to remember. And also, when I was in March, and this is something that I want to just mention real briefly. When I was at in March in Curacao, we had different sessions, and one of the sessions was a life coach from a girl from St. Martin that is now based in Suriname, has been in Suriname for a few years, and she was one of the speaker, and she had the last session she closed up. And you know, you always think about having a spiritual counselor or having a life coach or having someone that is able to guide you or give you some sort of inner peace regardless of what religion you are. And that day I actually discovered that it's very important to have one of those persons in your support team, you know, whether it's a paid service, whether it's a, because your friends are not equipped to deal with that type of baggage like a life coach is, or a therapist, or a psychologist, or a spiritual counselor. They just are not objective enough.
Correct.
They're your friends, you know, and they won't be able to handle the type of garbage that comes to you with. So I do want to tell the ladies that are listening, or even when they see the replay, that it is important for them to find some sort of healing routine, you know, cleansing routine, or guidance, mentoring that is going to help them with them as well from within.
Correct.
That cleansing from within is also very important.
Yes, that is so important, especially during this Corona time that came up. That is even more important than before. You're so true. So, Kenty, as a close up, is there any tips or advice you can give us when it comes to combining all your work and or being a blogger?
There's a lot that I could say. I mean, the reality is that everybody's journey is different. Even if you decide to be a blogger tomorrow, your journey as a blogger is going to be totally different than mine. However, the key things that are important for you to remember is to preserve your identity, to remain authentic, and to evaluate the process as you go along in growth, because I am not the same blogger that I was in 2016.
Yeah.
That's because I put a lot of time and energy into growing and understanding where I wanted to go with the blog. I needed to come up with a mission statement, just like a company, with a mission statement for the blog, like what I wanted to do with it and what was the objective. So identifying what you're going to do with it, and that goes for blog, that goes for business, that goes for new adventures, that goes for new challenges, that goes for, you know, whatever you decide that you want to do. Is important for you to identify your why.
Correct.
Your why is what is going to give you the reason to come up with a strategy that is going to define the whether or not your idea or your service, your product, your project is sustainable, and if it's going to stick around. You know, finding out your why. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to become a blogger? Why do I want to become an entrepreneur? Why do I want to become why do I want to combine my career with my with I don't know, volunteering? Whatever your why is what's going to give you the information for you to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be my biggest advice to you. And also, the second one would be that if you want to combine all of these, not saying that I'm a superwoman, but I know that I do a lot, and sometimes you have to learn to wheel back. And doing a SWOT analysis, just like how you do for your business. I do a SWOT analysis for myself every 6 months. Like, okay, what are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What are my opportunities? Where can I grow? Those are things that you can do on a every 6 months or every year, depending on how is the pace of your development, whether it's career wise, whether it's personal wise. So finding out your why and also understanding where you want to go with your why is important. And of course, not forgetting about having a good support group, and finding a source of energy and positivity and mental peace that is going to help you through your journey.
Correct. I do like those tips, being authentic, finding out your why, and doing your SWOT analysis, what most of us forget that we have to keep on doing, and not only at the beginning. Your support group or your emotional support group, those things are indeed, like you said, really, really important. So you don't only keep on focusing on let me create things, and you keep on running and rushing, and you forget about yourself, because at one point, like you said, you will crash, and then nobody has anything with that when you crash. And so it's very good advice. So Miss Kenty, thank you very much for your time and being part of this and telling us a little bit about blogging and how you started, how it's going with you, and the road that you walked to be here where you are. And I'm sure that we will get a lot more information, or better yet, we will see more of you, and especially on the social media and everything. And I can't lie, I do like to see your posts and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, it's something so simple I didn't think about, but she makes it so creative, like something so original. I do like to see that. And when you come with your different topics, I really do like it. I commend you and applaud you, and I hope that you continue for many, many more years, because females out here, we are open to receive those information, even though we're not seeing it often, and uplifting other females that are doing those work for us to receive it. So
and that's another thing that I want to say before we close off is, do not be afraid of asking for help, which is something that we all suffer from.
Correct.
Don't be afraid to reach out and ask somebody that you need help, because sometimes we get in overwhelming situations, or we think that we don't see a solution. But by reaching out to someone, asking them what they think, and it could be advice. I'm always available on social media. I get a lot of questions on Facebook, Instagram. I'm also very accessible, right? Because I'm on the internet. So if you have to reach me and send me a question or an advice, an idea, or whatever, please feel free to contact me on any of the platforms. I think you shared the website as well somewhere earlier today. I have the websites or email addresses that you can contact me. I'm busy putting out a few things together towards the ending of the month, because I'm also a certified stylist, personal stylist. I'm putting some effort into that as well, to roll out some stuff. I'm working on an ebook. So there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. I've just been invited to another conference for the end of the month, virtual one as well. So I'm excited about that. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the pipeline. And lastly, do not wait for opportunities to knock on your door. Create them.
Correct.
Create your own opportunities. We are too complacent with waiting on things to happen and to fall in our lap. And sometimes you just have to go outside and just look for that opportunity.
Exactly.
It's very simple.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't express my thank you enough. I enjoyed it. And I wish you a good evening and success with all your future endeavors. And we will keep on posted on what all you're going to do.
Thank you so much for having me on board. Have a pleasant evening and a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.